I had a client, we'll call her Sarah, and Sarah was doing everything right to try and lose weight. She was eating in a deficit, consistently eating less than 1,400 calories a day. She was walking 10,000 steps a day and doing cardio at the gym. And despite doing all the right things, not only was her weight not budging, she was gaining weight. To make matters worse, all of her lab results came back normal from her doctors. And by the time she got to me, she looked at me and said, "I think I'm broken." But here's the thing. Sarah wasn't broken, and neither are you. Your operating system has changed, and nobody told you what the new rules were. I'm Erica Christine. Welcome to the Midlife Health Detective. And on this channel, we focus on empowering you to do what you can to take back control over your own health. Functional labs, real science, no false hopes, and no marketing hacks. So let's get into it. It's common for women in midlife to start to notice weight gain that's a little bit more stubborn than it has been before. And the myriad of suggestions that women hear, the bad advice like just count calories. It's all about CICO, or calories in, calories out, intermittent fasting or various fasting protocols, HRT, because that fixes everything if you're in midlife. Then we've got keto, carnivore, your magic supplements, the detox teas and fat burners, or doing more and more and more cardio, or being told you just need more discipline. And that last one, the more discipline, is just a polite way of somebody telling you it's your fault, when the reality is they don't have an answer for why you're gaining weight. So instead of taking accountability, they push the blame onto you. And in the end, that's not helpful either. And while this is really common in midlife, your hormones did not cause this. They're the reveal. The symptom of stubborn weight gain is signals and clues that your body's been giving you. You just need somebody to help you understand how to read them. So today, the real case, 5 clues. And these 5 clues are interconnected. If you miss one, the whole picture is going to stay blurry. But when you see all 5, everything finally starts to make sense. So let's talk about clue number 1, and that is estrogen and insulin. We've all heard of the term insulin resistance, and a very simple way of thinking about it is that it takes more and more and more insulin to do the job that your body needs it to do. Now, estrogen is on the other side of the spectrum from insulin resistance over here. Estrogen is actually insulin sensitizing. It helps your cells respond to insulin properly. It's part of what keeps your metabolism just running smoothly until you probably hit your 30s. But when estrogen starts to drop in perimenopause or even start functioning erratically, that protection goes with it. Your cells are more resistant to insulin now. And here's what insulin actually does when it's chronically elevated. It signals your fat cells and then it locks the door. Insulin actively blocks the breakdown of fat. So you're storing more and releasing less at the same time. And this is why eating less and moving more doesn't quite move the needle like it once did. Calories in, calories out is not a lie. In a healthy metabolic system, energy balance really matters. But if insulin is chronically elevated, and in perimenopause it often is, your fat stores are locked even when you're eating less. You are trying to drain a bathtub while the tap is still running full blast. So we've got to fix the system first. And then energy balance can start to work again for you. And there's a lot of layers underneath that we haven't even touched today and won't have time to in this video, like how the quality of the fat that's stored in your cells affects your metabolism at the level of the mitochondria. That's a whole separate case file, but it does start here. So your lab call out, fasting insulin and fasting glucose, not just your A1C. A1C is great because it gives you that 3-month average, but your fasting insulin tells you what your body is doing with sugar right now. All right, and clue number 2, and this is your thyroid. Your estrogen and your thyroid hormones are deeply entangled. When estrogen drops in perimenopause, it can unmask a thyroid that was quietly struggling underneath and compensating just fine before, but it just can't anymore. A sluggish thyroid means slower metabolism, water retention, fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, and weight that will not move. Most standard panels only check for TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone. And that's just the signal that the brain sends to the thyroid, and it tells almost nothing about what's happening at the cellular level. And here's also something that you need to understand about lab ranges, because this changes everything. The normal ranges on your lab report weren't built by studying healthy people. They were built using a bell curve across the entire population. And as people get sicker, that bell curve and what's normal also starts to shift. So normal doesn't mean healthy. Normal doesn't mean optimal. It means that you don't qualify for a diagnosis of a particular disease. So for thyroid specifically, the standard TSH range goes up to 4.5 or even 5, depending on the lab. Now, most functional practitioners, including myself, typically like to use between 1 and 2 as optimal. And for those of us like myself that have Hashimoto's, most of us know exactly where we start to feel good. There is a landmark paper in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism that argued the upper limit should really be 2.5. That was back in 2005. So a lot of mainstream medicine just hasn't fully caught up. So when your doctor says your thyroid is fine, ask them, compared to what? Then what could be explaining my symptoms? The full picture needs free T3, the active thyroid hormone that your cells actually use, T4, which is the storage form that requires conversion over to T3. And many people also like to look at reverse T3. I want to be honest with you. There is legitimate debate right now in the clinical literature on the merits of reverse T3, given how the current thyroid assays are more accurately capturing T3. And that's totally fair. But if your free T3 looks adequate and you still have every hypothyroid symptoms, fatigue, weight gain, brittle nails, loss of hair, dry skin, feeling cold, bring reverse T3 into the conversation. And this is something I want every woman in perimenopause to advocate for. If you are feeling those symptoms, advocate for antibody testing, specifically the thyroid peroxidase antibody and the TG antibodies. And here's why. Estrogen also has immunomodulatory effects, and it acts like a brake on the immune reactivity. So when estrogen starts to decline, that brake loosens. Women are much, much more likely to be diagnosed with an autoimmune condition than men. And these diagnoses often coincide with periods of extreme hormonal shifts, most often right after pregnancy and into perimenopause. So if you are feeling the symptoms of a sluggish thyroid and your lab results just don't match what you're feeling, advocate for getting your antibodies tested. Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism is the most prevalent autoimmune condition that we have. Better to find out now so you can start managing than continue to be frustrated. So clue 3 is cortisol. If you watched my perimenopause anxiety video, you already know that cortisol runs really high during perimenopause. So here's what cortisol actually does to your body composition. Cortisol tells your body to store fat centrally. So whether we like it or not, it's our body's way of actually protecting us. This is a survival mechanism. Your body is sensing that there is a real threat, and under sustained threat, it's hoarding your reserves around your organs where it can access them fast. The challenge is none of us are running a marathon with the saber-toothed tiger behind us. What we're running from is unrelenting chronic stress that lives in the form of commitments, financial pressures, and sometimes an inbox. Now, here's the one line that holds clue number 1, which was insulin, with clue number 3, cortisol, together. Insulin tells your body to store fat. Cortisol tells your body where to store fat. In perimenopause, both of these signals are dysregulated at the same time. And that's why that fat storage is going right here to your belly. And also why it's really hard to get it to move. Addressing one without the other just doesn't get you where you want to go. And now I want to talk about something the fitness industry doesn't want to say out loud. I see women in their 40s and 50s at the gym every day, on the stair mill for an hour at a time, running on the treadmill, working harder than they ever have before. And many of these women are not overweight, but they do have that stubborn belly fat. So they continue to do more and it still won't move. And here's what's actually happening. Sustained periods of high intensity cardio for 45, 60 minutes not only spikes cortisol, but it keeps it elevated. In a body that is already running high on cortisol from perimenopause, lack of sleep, life stress, you're just pouring fuel on a fire. More cortisol, more visceral fat storage. You can be lean everywhere else and still carry it right here in your midsection, because that's exactly where a chronically stressed body stores its emergency reserves. So even if you're not overweight, but you still have that belly fat that won't budge, the answer is almost never to do more. You should be asking what your cortisol is doing. So sometimes changing the stimulus, strength training, walking, yoga, mobility work, these can move the needle more than steady state cardio in perimenopause. That hour of steady state cardio could actually be making your belly fat or your stubborn weight gain worse. And this is not me telling you to stop moving. This is me saying that the type of movement matters enormously in perimenopause, especially if that weight gain is not caused by one clue, but maybe a combination of clues, which is what I see most often. Remember, what worked for you well into your 20s and 30s may not work for you anymore. Clue number 4, your gut. And most of you have heard of the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that affect digestion, immunity, mood, and inflammation. What most people haven't heard of yet is a specific department within that microbiome whose entire job is to process estrogen. And scientists are calling this the estrobolome. So there are specific bacteria whose job it is to produce an enzyme that controls how much estrogen gets reabsorbed back into your body versus what's just eliminated. When that department is working properly, your body recycles what it needs and it clears the rest. But when your gut is disrupted, that department breaks. So sometimes it reabsorbs too much estrogen, driving inflammation, and sometimes it eliminates too much, compounding the estrogen decline that's already happening in perimenopause. Either way, inflammation rises, and that inflammation drives insulin resistance. Insulin resistance drives fat storage. The chain is real and it's documented. So if you're doing everything right and nothing is working, this could be part of the why, and it never will show up in standard panels from your doctor. So lab call out here, comprehensive stool analysis, specifically a GI map, looking at the microbial balance and beta glucuronidase activity and the inflammation markers. And clue number 5, the nutrient gaps that make every single one of the other 4 clues even worse. Selenium and zinc. Your thyroid cannot convert T4 to T3 without them. Deficiency in these and your thyroid physically cannot do its job, even if structurally it looks fine. Magnesium affects insulin sensitivity, cortisol regulation, and sleep quality, all 3. Most perimenopausal women are depleted in magnesium. Vitamin D, and here's where I need to be specific, because most labs will not flag a deficiency until it hits below 30 and sometimes even as low as 20 nanograms per deciliter. But again, that's common ranges, not optimal. So your functional practitioners often look for vitamin D levels in between the 70 and 80 range. So you can see these are not the same thing. Barely in range is not the same as optimal. And low vitamin D is connected to thyroid, insulin resistance, and mood, all of what we've talked about today. The perimenopause weight gain is A, not inevitable, B, not a willpower problem, and C, not a discipline problem. It is a case with 5 interconnected clues. You have the estrogen and insulin locking your fat in place. You have a thyroid that might be underperforming. In some cases, you've got a cortisol loop where the wrong kind of exercise is likely making things even worse. A gut microbiome that could be disrupting how your body processes hormones, and nutrient gaps that are making all of it harder. So when you stop blaming yourself and you can start reading the clues, things start to make a whole lot more sense. And when things make more sense, you can actually do something about them. Remember, you're not broken, your operating system has changed, and now you know where to start. If this video makes you feel seen and gave you the language to describe what you've been seeing in your own body, share it. There's a woman out there in your life right now who has been told her labs are normal and is starting to believe that she is the problem. New case files every Sunday, and I will see you in the next one.